good afternoon, and welcome to the 2019 Under-18 Men's and Women's Ontario Curling Championships, brought to you by Curl On and Title Sports Live. We are at the Paris Curling Club in Paris, Ontario. My name is Mary Chilvers, and I am joined here this afternoon by the reigning world junior champion, Matt Hall. Good afternoon, Matt.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and hopefully we have a good curling game to talk about this afternoon.
Absolutely. So we have, on our feature sheet this afternoon, we have Tori Zemmelink is going from the London Curling Club, going up against Sophia Johnston from the High Park Curling Club. So, Matt, this is the last game of this round robin, and we're going to have a look at the standings to see what our scenarios are going to be.
And so really we are down to 5 teams going into this last game, are still alive for a playoff spot or in contention. So we have Emily Deschênes running the table so far at 6-0. She has booked her bye to the final tomorrow afternoon. Next, we have 2 teams tied for second place between Steele and Charlotte Johnston. Sorry, had to look up what the first name was. Then in our feature game here, we have Sophia Johnston going up against Tori Zemmelink. So big playoff implications in this game here. And then rounding out the field, we also have Vivier at 3-3, Croft at 2-4, and Adrienne Bellevaux also at 1-5. So some big games this afternoon will determine our who will be in to playoffs, either a tiebreaker tonight or into tomorrow. Right,
and so the 2 teams that are sitting with 2 losses, which is Steele and Charlotte Johnston. So Steele is playing against Croft in this game, and Charlotte Johnston is playing against Team Deschênes, who are undefeated. So, they both have a chance to stay at 2, or they could both drop to 3 losses. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. So we're just going to meet the teams here on our feature sheet this afternoon. We have Team Zemmelink, and their skip is Tori Zemmelink. The third is Kira Woodend. Second, Caitlin Everly. The lead is Kayla Cruikshank. They have an alternate, Avery Sanaksak. And the coach is Jennifer Cuddy. Going up against the Johnston team of Sophia Johnston, Evelyn Robert, Emily Parkinson, Sadie McCutcheon, and their coach is Jody McCutcheon. So it looks like the Johnston team does not have hammer here in the first end, Matt.
Yeah, no, so bit of a miss already by the Zemmelink team to start, just a little bit of a flash, but it could just be caught in a little bit of a spot. We talked a lot this morning about the entire practice is really focusing on that draw to the button. So you don't focus on other spots quite as much. So maybe they just got caught in the center line there. But we should see a hit coming right here, and hopefully they can clear this out. And I'm sure both teams would love to have a pretty clean open end to start the game. So looking over at the other games on sheet 1, we have Vivier in the hunt for a playoff spot against Bellevaux. Her and Johnston on our sheet both need to win to have a chance at the playoffs, but will also need a little bit of help.
Yes.
They'll need Charlotte Johnston or Rachel Steele to drop a game to come back and force a tiebreaker situation. And on sheet 3, we have Steele playing against Aubrey Croft. And on sheet 4, as we said before, we have Charlotte Johnston taking on the undefeated Emily Deschênes. Should be a good afternoon of curling here, Mary.
Yeah, this is always such a fun time, as that final game in the round robin when all these scenarios can take place.
I love when it works out this way, and every game's got something on the line.
Yeah.
Somebody's playing for some kind of a playoff spot on every sheet. So should be good curling to watch all around.
We will notice here, Matt, we did the boys game earlier today. Probably will not see it as an aggressive strategy with the girls. They tend to play it a little bit more conservatively.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Again,
Yeah.
I mentioned it this morning, but I would hope to see that they don't play it extra conservatively just because of the implications of the game. I think you got to trust what got you here, and you don't want to shy away from anything for
Right.
sure when you're right in the hunt.
Yeah. And you know, Matt, it's never easy playing against a team if the game means something to you, but the team you're playing doesn't have any playoff implications. You know, they're down at the bottom of the standings. Doesn't mean they can't play, and they usually will come up and bite you if you don't watch it. So.
Oh, I've seen it happen many times. It's happened to me many times. You know, you're in the hunt. You're a little bit more tense going out there.
Yeah.
Where the other team, if they're not in that playoff scenario, they're not playing for nothing, but they're out there just a little bit more loose and just sort of taking the game shot by shot. And you see it a lot where those teams at the bottom of the standings at the end of the week will give those top teams a bit of a run for their money. So hopefully if you're in that hunt, you really need to just put extra focus into every single shot. Just take it one shot at a time. And, you know, it all sounds cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. It's
Well,
because
exactly.
it works, and that's exactly what you need to do.
Yeah.
A little bit of a miss there by the Johnston rink, sliding through on their draw.
It's really quick. You guys time? Line's fine.
Zemmelink with a pretty aggressive call here, going around the center with the hammer.
Pass the curl. Pass the dig.
This one needs to curl, but it's sliding very well too.
Just watch it too, guys. Yep. Biting top forward. Take a look! Fine. Yep. Take a look! Oh! Just don't beat! Make sure. Emily drop. Take a look! Just here. Hard here, yes! Hard! Hard! Gotta be here! Hard! Oh, you're good. Good sweep. Good sweep. 9-5. That's all good. Good recovery. Whoa. Whoa.
So a great,
Right up.
great draw there by Evelyn Robert to get a rock top 4 around the guard.
2. Yeah.
And then we'll continue to try and guard this rock. Now, we talked a little bit this morning about how tough it can sometimes be just to guard an open rock like this, right, Mary?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it has to be very precise. Perfect weight, perfect line.
Yeah, you put the guards are some of the most volatile, especially for line. If you throw an extra pound more than you want, you could end up over curling, and if you don't throw enough just by a foot, it could under curl on you. So these rocks are very tough, especially in early ends like this, where you might not have a full grasp on what the entire sheet's doing. So.
So first rock here for Sophia Johnston.
Line's nice. Hold on. If you're
Is this plan B here, Matt?
Yeah. It's a pretty good one, too.
Sure is.
That's a third rock of the end that we've seen from either team where we've slept quite deep of what they've wanted. So
Yeah, might be a little touch faster this afternoon.
yeah. You usually don't see that in the first end playing away, just because
No.
it's a slightly different path than it is the draw to the button coming home. So
Yeah.
you'll usually see a slightly fresher pebble, but it doesn't seem to be the case here. Both teams coming up a little bit heavy this end.
Tori playing the hit. This one's got to curl a bit.
Let's go biting top 8. Same spot. Just added a lot in my extension. Just go like full 8. I just added a lot in my fighting 8 is fine too.
So this is a good chance for Sophia Johnston to really dial in on that draw weight here. You know, she'd love to go top 8, but with that back one locked on as well as it is, you can be off one way or the other and still be okay. So this is the chance for her to get that good draw weight, hopefully for later in the game.
And if she can put this in a decent spot, it might force Zemmelink to have to go wide around to play a draw. If she can't hit it and be shot, she may just hit it and give up one.
Yeah, I think the ideal spot is like exactly where that yellow was in the 8 foot,
Yes.
but just top 8.
Yeah.
If you can do that, yeah, you would force Zemmelink to choose between a risky draw or a tough hit for,
Right.
and slips deep again.
Yeah, that's just a little too deep, so kind of takes the pressure off the Zemmelink team.
Yep. Still a good lineup, though. There's really no double, no way for a deuce here. So
Yeah.
it'll just be an open draw for
Yeah.
Tori Zemmelink for one.
Now these shots, Matt, can be tricky for the inexperienced skip, wherein she knows she has backing. And she's even asking for more ice here. What worries me is she pumps up the weight a bit.
Yeah, and that's always, you never want to throw to the backing.
Yeah.
You want to, especially on shots like this, you really need to focus on just making the clean draw to the 4 foot. Let your sweepers help you if you need to. If you overthrow these at all, that's when you tend to run straight and miss the backing altogether. So
The line's definitely good here. It's actually over curling, so they got to be careful.
and
And she makes
taps
it.
the back one, but definitely uses all the backing she had there.
Absolutely. So after one end of play, Team Zemmelink will take a single point here, 1-0 score, going into the second. Well, before we forget, Matt, I want to give out a big shout out to Bill Garou, who just fed us the best ribs we've ever eaten.
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
I think I might have to give him a call later, see if he can ship them to my place or something.
Yeah, he's been really good to the TSL crew. He's a member here, owner of Evergreen Home Handyman Services. Well, he's pretty handy in the kitchen, too.
Oh,
That's all
yeah.
I can say.
Well, the entire Paris Curling Club has been out helping TSL and Curl Ontario. We're in a fantastic event all week. It's been a great club to host a championship, and if things keep up this way, I'm sure it won't be long before they're back.
Yes. Sometimes these smaller clubs, you know, they're very home-like. You know, they treat you like family when you show up here, so it's great.
It's one of the great things about curling.
It is.
So if you're Sophia Johnston, you must be pretty happy with that first end, the way you played out. You got a couple, free chances to draw as a skip, get your feel for draw weight. You got a force on the other team, and you got the hammer back. So check mark on all three of those.
And I like the fact that Sophia just ignored that rock in the rings and put up a corner guard.
Absolutely, that rock isn't really an issue for, or at least it won't be for a little bit. It's top 12, so it's a little bit higher than the Zemmelink team would like, and it's not on the center line, so it's nothing that you have to worry about for a while.
Well, Sophia wanted to go around the corner guard, changed her mind, and is going to play a hit on this top 12 rock.
And makes the double out of it.
Little double, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mind that call at all, actually. You know, you have the center, you have the corner guard. As long as you're sticking around with your hits, that corner guard's going to be there for a while. You can kind of slow play this situation for a little bit, especially if you want to stay a little bit more conservative. With those two rocks in the rings, you can try and play some hit and rolls, maybe get them to some better positions, and then go around the guard.
Yeah, the key phrase there is that you have to stick around if you're going to play that hit. It's important to stay in the rings. And so, you know, this gives Sophia a good chance. Just ignore that, come around the guard.
And she will try to do just that. And the good thing about with where that red is right now, you can almost use that as a corner guard later in the end as well, if you really want to go for your deuce.
Yeah. Going for line here. Looks fine. Looks like a great shot here. Really nice shot. Let's see, about a quarter of it.
I think you might see Zemmelink try and make some kind of play on that shot stone. And if you touch the guard and roll in, that would work too. Or just straight peel the guard, that works as well.
Yeah.
I like both of those calls.
I don't know about you, Matt, but I still, with this 5-rock rule, I still have to look to make sure 5 rocks have been thrown before we can start peeling.
We definitely made that mistake once or twice with my team this year.
Did you?
I'll say that. Well, I think there was one time where we actually did hit a rock and it had to go back just because we were confused. And there's other times, where the skip calls a peel and we have to yell down, well, we can't do that yet.
Yeah.
Definitely something to get used to.
Yeah.
New rule this year, but everyone seems to be catching on pretty well.
Yeah. Now, Sophia does not have to hit this rock. She's already sitting shot over on the other side. She could come around that red corner.
Absolutely, she could. The thing with this call is it is a little bit more conservative, and it does keep the blank in play if things go sideways for you later in the end. So.
It was too bad.
Chance for Tori Zemmelink's team to set up the possibility of a force later.
16-5 might come a bit short. You can squeeze it. So.
I am a little bit surprised at this, Mary. Johnston chose to attempt the hit and roll on the last one, and then given the same situation here, now choosing to draw. Perhaps she feels that later on in the end she's trying to go a little bit harder for the 2.
Yeah, it's.
But I was expecting to try and see the hit and roll again, and you know, then you always have the blank in play if things don't go well for you. Still not a bad result, though.
Just T-line. Well, it's just T-weight. No line.
So this is a bit of a risky call here without having the hammer. Yellow's already sitting 2.
I agree. As much as you see this rock back 4, and it looks like something that would be nice to freeze to so early in the game, you know, you're still working out the paths, and if you don't ever make it perfect, well, just like this right here, you give the Johnston team the possibility of sitting 3. And then you're probably having to make the freeze on your last one anyways to get out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna do that though. I think I like the hit. You like that? I think so. Okay, just 10. Okay.
So do you like this, Matt? I'm just curious, the hit and roll over to the other side there to sit your 3, or would you consider ignoring that for now and draw another one in the house?
I think I like the hit and roll. And the reason for that is if you hit and roll away and sit 3, as we see this rock coming in here, that's unfortunate. The one thing you did not want to know is that and give a pocket.
Right, yeah.
To draw into. I like the hit and roll, though, because the only other option is, like you said, to draw top 4. And the problem with that is if you draw top 4, you give Zemmelink the opportunity to make that freeze back 4, and then your rock is kind of in your own way a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas if you make that hit and roll and Zemmelink does decide to try and freeze again, then it should be open. You might get the opportunity to pick it out for 3, or
at least have a shot.
Yeah, at least then,
Yeah.
even if she makes the freeze perfect, you would have an open draw to the button right on top of it, and then your rock is never in your way.
Right.
So I like the call. Unfortunately, just the execution was not what they were hoping for, leaving a pretty good pocket here. If Tori Zemmelink can throw one down, it's going to take a couple shots to remove it.
Yeah. So just a little bit too much weight on that for the freeze.
And that's sort of been the trend we've been seeing already this game. Just there's been very few shots that have brought the sweepers into play.
Yeah.
So that's something that hopefully they talk about in their between end meetings, and you just got to kick out that little bit less, bring your sweepers into play. And I know the feeling as a sweeper this year, the worst feeling in the world is just watching a rock go down the whole way. You want to be in it, you want to have the opportunity. So maybe that's something the sweepers can help the throwers get a better idea for what the weight is, and just give them the opportunity to work it.
So first rock for Sophia Johnston. She has hammer here in the second end. Wants to get this moving. That's a great shot. Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely, definitely plan B, but still works out really well. Tori Zemmelink will have to come up with a very good hit and roll here to escape trouble.
So she's indicating she's going to throw board weight, and I think that's a great choice. A lot of the young players will throw a full hit weight at this, but if you really want to get that roll and you want to stick around in the house, I think this is a great choice.
It's definitely a very experienced move, because
Yes.
the one thing, you know, everyone thinks so hard that they need to get this rock out
Yes.
and make the roll. Really, but the actual important part of the shot is making the roll.
Yeah.
Right? You could tap that rock back 8 as long as you make the roll behind and try to make it tough on the other team.
And there you go. That's a shame. Just over curled on her a little too much.
I love the weight call, but maybe
Yes.
they just hadn't seen board as much down that spot this
Yeah.
game, and it just jumped on them a little bit.
So that will be an open draw here for Sophia. Score 3 points in the second end. These are really important shots to really focus on because, you know, you're already sitting 2, and so you're thinking, well, you know, 3 will be great here, and sometimes you don't focus as much as if you're throwing against 2.
Oh, absolutely. This is one of those, you know, you think about it, it's just an open draw to the house, really. Really, these shouldn't ever be missed, but you'd be surprised at how often you see these ones go through the rings or come up a little bit short, and I think it's just a mental thing. You know you have your 2, and it's sort of just a free draw, but still got to focus down and make it. And she did a great job of that right there.
So 3 points on the board for Sophia Johnston in the second end. The 3-1 score going into the third. So just going to have a look at the other sheets here right now. On sheet 1, we have Team Vivier up 2-1 against Team Bellevue, and Bellevue has the hammer in the third end. Over on sheet 3, we have a score of Steele 2 over Croft 1, and Croft has hammer playing the third. And then in our other game, we have Deshane 1-0 over Charlotte Johnston playing the third. Charlotte has the hammer. So some tight matches out here this afternoon.
It's going to be riveting to watch, Mary.
It is.
It's going to be tough to focus on our game. I've been looking over at all the the curling, seeing what's going on.
And that's it's funny when you're out there playing too. You can't help but have a look at the other sheets if it's going to affect your standings.
You know, your coaches always tell you just to focus on your game, but I'll tell you right now, as a player, that never happens. You're always looking over at what's going on the other sheets.
Absolutely. This one's going to slip into the rings. So Sadie McCutcheon going to play the hit on this one in the wing.
So Sadie curls out of the High Park Curling Club in Toronto. I was actually looking through their bios here that were given to us. I'm actually quite impressed. Sadie has art on exhibition in an exhibition at the Gladstone Hotel, and she's done designs for Curling Canada fundraisers as well.
Is that right?
So, yeah, multi-talented athlete here.
Wow.
We also have the second plays piano at the Royal Conservatory in Toronto, and the third is a rock climber as well. So
A rock climber?
yeah,
Really?
so very talented team here.
Wow.
No. No.
This is Kira Woodend.
Close. Yep. Yep. Yes. Hard, Kira. Yep. 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 Hard for a roll. Hard for a roll. Wheel around. Top 4. 15.
So Zemmelink Rink making a nose hit, but stays as a center guard. So you'll see Sophia Johnston try to utilize that, try to go around top 4 here and put some pressure on.
T. Back 4. Line's getting better. Just top 4. Make sure it's here. It's there. Top 4. Just top 4. No, it was like back 4. T. Back 4. Yeah. Get him. It's fine. Sanitizing. Like, back line! Split it. Back line. Yep, yep! Hard! Hard! Whoa, whoa! Whoa, we're over curling!
Sorry, I was reading.
Avery!
I was reading their bio.
Just 10.
Well, I'm not sure about that shot there, Matt, or the call.
I was a little bit surprised at the call, honestly, especially with Johnston team slipping deep. I
Yeah.
thought you might look at the freeze
Yes.
around it.
Yeah.
I was also thinking if the Johnston team had made it well, there was always the run back as well, so I wouldn't have been surprised to see that. The split is just, it's such a tough shot, especially at this level, to make it and roll both of yours into the ring. So I understood the idea, and I understood that if you ever went by, you were probably going to top the back one too, but that back one really wasn't a problem rock yet. You could have locked down a good freeze and really turn the tide here for your own team. Now, luckily got a little bit of a miss out of the Johnston team here now and have one in the rings, and now they'll play the draw round, which I like. But yeah, just something to think about for the future.
No line. All there. No. All there. Right off. Good job, Bing. Split the back one. Yep. Yep. Okay, whoa, 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 whoa. We're over curling. 8.
I'm a big proponent of always try and choose the easiest shot to
Yes.
do what you're trying to do.
Absolutely.
And I think open draw to the forefoot, it's definitely easier than trying to split both in the rings.
Yeah. Well, plus they kind of opened it up for Sophia Johnston, who does have the hammer here in the third end, so
Yep.
opened up
Zemmelink
that.
does.
Oh, I'm sorry, Zemmelink has. Yeah.
Okay.
So I understand the idea. It was opening it up for herself as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
but
okay.
just a little bit of a tougher shot, I think,
Yeah.
than they needed to attempt, that's all.
Emily. Hard him. Hard. Hard him. Hard right up. Get him hard, hard. Fine.
They're trying very hard to make that curl and actually ended up over curling.
Yeah.
Like hack and board. No, we need to get
So playing the hit here, just like a board weight hit.
Yeah, it just curled more than we thought.
Got this one out there a bit. I think it should curl though.
Now this is a tough one because you don't want to be wide and risk jamming it on your own, but you don't want to
Yeah.
be tight and wreck on the guard either. So those ones are all about weight control too. It's very easy to overthrow those and have them run straight on you. And I think definitely more so even than line, a huge part, one of the most important parts of curling is really being able to control your weight and throw those lightweight takeouts, not overthrow them, and really control where your shooter's going to go.
Yeah, you gotta trust the broom. Sometimes they're overthrown because you're afraid of the hit over curling.
Hard, not to jam, hard. Other way.
So I think Team Zemmelink will just like to hit and stick right here, Matt.
Yeah, I don't think you need to do anything special. Just a
No.
nice, you just nose hit for the rest of the end, and you force the Johnston team to make the tough shots.
No! Never! We're out here!
Oh, this one's really out.
Yeah, sweep it by, sweep it by, sweep it by. I didn't even let go of it yet. I think it's us. Yeah. So I think we just do that.
So yellow still shot here, Matt.
Just don't want to come close to touching the guard, so if we're...
Yeah, a little bit of a disaster there
Yeah.
on that shot. You would have at least liked to take out that rock, but fortunately leaving it for shot, giving Sophia Johnston the chance to set up the force here around the guard. Definitely haven't seen very many over curls yet. Everything seems to be just under curling a little bit. So that's something that you talk about in between the ends, and those are the trends that you need to recognize. So either you bring the weight down a little bit, or you got to tighten up the ice.
Yeah. So first rock for Sophia Johnston. In-turn draw. Even showing half of this rock. Doesn't have to be perfectly buried.
Hard! All you! All you! Whoa, Emily's rock then! Emily! Emily!
Don't want this too deep.
Yep, hard, 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 hard. Good.
Panicking a little bit to try and get that to bury, but I think it was more important to try and keep that rock as high as you can.
Absolutely, and like I mentioned, it doesn't have to be buried. In fact, where it is not too bad. It's definitely makes it a little tricky for the Zemmelink team.
It stopped kind of just in time. If it goes a little bit deeper, it definitely wasn't that great. But still a little bit of a tough hit and roll here. Again, this is one of those tough ones where you don't need to take that rock out of play.
Yes.
Obviously, you'd like to push it out far enough to be past your other red, but the big thing here is to try and make that roll behind the guard.
Yeah.
Even if you leave a piece open here, Sophia Johnston was going to have trouble removing it because it could just jam into all that mess back there at the back of the house.
Yep, they started it. Yes, hard! Should stay out. Hard! All the way! Hard! Hard!
That's too bad. She had really nice weight on that. She just started it off her release.
Yeah, and you heard her say that right out of your hand. As a thrower,
Yeah.
you generally have a good feeling about how you throw the rock most
Yeah.
of the time. So when you're a little bit off, you usually just let your teammates know. And fortunately, not able to hold that one. So you'll see Johnston try to throw a center guard on this, and if it's made well, then it'll be a tough shot for Zemmelink to try and come around and tap it for one.
Yeah, because that one's sitting right on the pin pretty much, Matt.
Yeah.
So here's this guard that we keep talking about, how hard it is to make the perfect guard.
Yeah, and we saw this guard get missed in the first end too, so let's see if she's adjusted well. It's pretty much down the same path, so
Just the two, Emily! Yep. Emily, yep. Hard finish. Hard, Evan! Really gotta go to finish. Hard. All the way, both of you, hard. Hard, yeah! Hard.
and an excellent adjustment there by
Very
Sophia
good.
Johnston.
Yeah, and the sweepers really brought that in nicely.
I was like, I don't care if it's in, we gotta block the double.
It's nice and tight, so it makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, these ones are always so tough because you want to play around the guard with a little bit of weight to hopefully tap it, but as soon as you give it that extra weight, it runs straight on you. And some,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of these are just missed wide completely past everything just because of that little bit of extra weight. I think it's always a big one to, with these kinds of shots, to really just throw it for the freeze.
Right.
As a thrower, try and freeze it on your own out of your hand, and then you wait for till the line's good and let your sweepers carry it that extra 2 feet it needs.
I know the ice better this side. A little more. They're sitting two.
Yeah, and she's also throwing against 2 here,
Yeah.
which makes it a little more nerve-wracking to throw this last shot.
Especially with this turn. I think the other turn is probably a little bit easier to make the tap, but you heard her say she knows this side a little bit better. So I think you really just want to throw this as if it's a draw to the pin. And then if the line ends up being good or you can finish it around the guard, then you let your sweepers do the rest. But just make a draw to the 8 foot here, and at worst case scenario, it's just a steal of
Yeah.
one.
4 foot. Line's good.
Yeah, they don't want to get too cute with it. Like you say, a steal of 1 is okay.
Stay close.
Got to let the third know where the weight is on this one. This looks really nice to me.
Got a chance. Makes the tap, but unfortunately just rolls off too far. Steal of 1 for Sophia Johnston. Takes a 4-1 lead after the third end.
Well, Matt, I think she took your advice. She kind of threw it.
Yeah.
She might have been maybe a foot heavier than that, but I think, that was a tough one to get shot rock out of that.
Absolutely, especially with that turn. It was slightly overburied on that turn, but very good by the thrower throwing. Yeah, I think you're right. It was about a pound heavy, but a lot of times you see that blown through the rings because you're focusing so
Exactly.
much on trying to make that tap. So
Yeah.
good result just to give up this steal of 1 and sort of get away from that. Now you try and set it up as best you can this end.
Absolutely. Just looking at the other sheets here, on sheet 1, Team Vivier up 3-1 over Team Bellevue. Bellevue has hammer in the 4th end. Sheet 3, we have a tie game here with Team Steel having the hammer in the 4th end. And on sheet 4, we have Deshane up 3-0 over Charlotte Johnston, playing the 4th.
Just back 8. Back 8. Okay. Also, our time's really. Just bring your weight.
Steele and Charlotte Johnson both sitting tied for 2nd place in the standings right now. So they are both really wanting to win their games.
And you know for sure Team Vivier on sheet 1 and Sophia Johnston here, they're definitely going to peek over at those sheets a couple times. They
That's
need a win,
right.
and then need either Charlotte Johnston or Rachel Steele to drop down to meet them in a tiebreaker. So, you know, I talked before about you're always kind of watching the other sheets, especially when you need something to happen over there.
Yeah.
Peek over a couple more times.
For sure. So not sure where Sophia called her first rock. I assume it was supposed to be in the house.
Yep, she called top 4 and unfortunately was a little bit light. And we heard a little bit of discussion between the skip and I think it was the vice or the second saying that the lead, it's been a little bit of a trend. The lead's been coming up a little bit light this game. So
Okay.
it's either been top 12 or just a tight guard either way. So that's something that sweepers just, you know, help them with. And obviously she made a little bit of an adjustment here, but a bit too much. So somewhere in between. And I know as a lead it can be very frustrating when you can't find that right draw weighted.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course, you throw that 1 or 2 different shots all game, and when you can't figure out the weight for them, it can become very frustrating.
It can.
So hopefully she can stay composed and do her best to figure out her weight.
It's coming down a bit. Oh, still, it's always Kira. It's always Kira. Always Kira. Yep, yep, yep. Full 12, full 12. Yep, yep, yep. Yep, yep. Hard, Kira, hard. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Really nice. Sorry. Ah.
Very good draw there.
That's a
Dead
beautiful
buried
draw.
right on the tee and shot rock.
Top 4. Top 8. Yep.
Sophia Johnston will try to bring play back to the center here by making this come around the center guard. It's pretty much perfect. Can't think of a better spot for that rock.
We're seeing some good shot making here, Matt.
Yeah, hope you know we'll probably see a couple more rocks in play this end. Hopefully, as Sophia Johnston has a good setup going so far, and Tori Zemmelink obviously would like to keep some rocks in play and hopefully get a multiple score going. So
Just got to watch they don't jam this on their red one. Well, not the result they were looking for.
not only unfortunate to get the first jam, but also jam the second one at the back and maybe leaving yellow sitting 2.
So Sophia pretty much running up there to peel this guard.
And this one's curling early too. And another missed opportunity there.
That's a tough one. You miss everything and leave the corner guard there.
You were inside last time.
Okay, so Zemmelink will try the same shot here. They're attempting to remove the guard and hopefully roll over for a corner guard to block that stone that they have at the side.
They could actually run it straight back too, Matt.
They could. I was honestly thinking they might try that, considering they just made it on their last one. And
Oh. I think that was burnt.
it looks like it. Yeah, and they're saying it was burnt.
Yeah.
So unfortunate break there for the Zemmelink team.
Yeah. Those are tough. They're going to try the peel again.
Ooh.
I am so sorry.
A little bit of plan B there, Mary.
And she's apologizing already.
Oh, that's, yeah, sometimes that happens, and that's all you can really do. Just turn around, say sorry, and move off to the side.
Yeah. Well, Team Zemmelink's very focused on getting this rock off the center line. When is it time, Matt, to just start drawing around? In the rings somewhere, corner, or...
I don't mind. I see what they're thinking. They want to get this off the center and hopefully have a chance to open it up so that they have a chance to score with their last. I was a little bit, and we see maybe a little lucky to move one of those yellows as well. But I was a little bit surprised to not see them play the run again. Like we talked about it earlier. If you're gonna, because the thing, if you're just looking to peel the guard, you might as well try the run back. Because if you make it, it's great. You're moving those yellows out of the way, which is really the problem stone is that one top 8.
Yeah.
So if you make the run, that's great. And if you miss the run by a little bit, you're probably peeling the guard and opening it up for you anyway. So.
Right. So this one's probably going to over curl here.
Yeah, this rock needs to stop quickly to not open up that shot stone top 8. Still does a pretty good job, I think.
Oh yeah, it's
maybe just showing a piece outside, but
yeah. They might want to let it chip this one out in the open and roll over.
Not a bad result. Basically hit it where you wanted to. Just needed a little bit more weight.
Yeah.
A little bit more weight. You probably roll a little bit closer to the corner guard and push that rock at least out of the 4-foot.
Right.
But the way it is right now, still a good spot for Sophia Johnston. Little bit of a roll back here to sit 4. 2 of them above the tee line. Sophia Johnston maybe getting away with a little bit of an overcurl there, using her own as a little bit of a catcher. Stays above the tee line, so still a good result, I'd say.
Oh, yeah. We've got a timeout being called here on our sheet.
So timeout called by the Zemmelink rink.
Yeah.
I think they're debating between whether to play on really what turn to play. I think they all sort of understand what shot they want to play. They want to come around and tap that rock that's right now top button back about a foot, hopefully sit shot stone. I think the real question is what turn they want to play. Personally, I like the out turn because you could, if you're ever heavy, you can still use the other yellow that's beside it as a way to sort of hit and roll off. But let's listen to what the team has to say.
Yeah, but you lose the shooter.
Yeah, but hidden. So
That would be really nice.
because otherwise you're not getting to that rock at all.
What kind of weight do we throw?
I was writing up my homework.
What kind of weight?
I think you throw
For a
10. Yeah, at least a 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's for the double?
Any lucky, you hit the back one too.
Yeah,
I know, but I was
you
eating
throw a
ribs
9-5,
and I lost track
you
of time.
probably get all three.
Are we planning to lose the shooter?
Even if you lose the shooter,
Or like are we planning to hit and roll?
you're sitting 4. I mean, what if you blank the end?
It's called
Like, it's not
multitasking.
terrible.
It's kind of too late to blank the end, isn't
What?
it? It's too late to blank the end, isn't it?
You got it clear.
You can get rid of 3 here.
Okay.
So she's saying hit the outside.
Oh, you guys.
No, you can't.
No, she wanted.
That's
she
not
was
there.
talking
She
about
wants
the
to hit
double
it
with
here.
9-5. That you're not chucking 9-5 at that. You're chucking like forward, and that's not moving anything.
Know
Okay.
what? Is that G-force? Just to let you know, guys, multitasking. Okay, Matt. Decision.
Well, it sounded like there was still a little bit of confusion following timeout on exactly getting on the same page of what shot they're throwing, but it looks like they've decided to hit maybe a third of this outside rock and hopefully double out the ones that are top 4.
Just
and
hit it on the wrong
unfortunate to
side. Yeah.
miss the shot. That was really the problem there.
Mm-hmm. Well, that will give Sophia a really good chance here to block off the scoring area. She's going to go top 8.
I was a little bit surprised about that last call. I don't know about you, Mary, but I thought even if you make that double, you're going to roll out as she did, and really you're only playing for a single at that point, right? And even if you make the double, then you still give Sophia Johnston the chance to draw around top 4 and really just replace it back where it was, right? I was really expecting that. I thought they would maybe come around, play something a little bit more lighter, soft weight, maybe try and just tap that shot stone and maybe just stick around in the 4-foot and try and get your deuce that way. You're really giving up on the deuce, I think, if you the way they tried to play that. So, and now worst case scenario, Sophia Johnston is drawing around with one rock already in there. So, coming up a little light, does tap that guard just an inch. So, might make this come around tap a little bit tougher for Tori Zemmelink.
Yeah, because Tori does have to push this, half a foot back to get shot out of this.
This does look like a lot of ice. This looks like just what they've been taking for like a draw to basically to freeze that yellow. So
She actually just took a little more. Well, she's had lots of pressure shots against her in this game, sorry. And this is another one. Shooting against 3. Gotta let the third know what the weight is.
Definitely a little heavy.
Okay.
Gets a little bit lucky there, tops the...
Yes.
It looked like a little bit of confusion between both ends of the sheet on what exactly they were going for. It sounded like Tori Zemmelink liked it and thought it had a chance, but
yeah, I didn't
they
hear
bailed on it.
a lot of communication in that. Anyway, after 4 ends of play, we have a score of 5-1. So Team Zemmelink's really going to have to pour it on in the last 4 ends here. They're going to take their 4th end break, and we will have more curling coming your way. And welcome back, everyone, to the 2019 Under-18 Men's and Women's Ontario Curling Championship, brought to you by Curl On and Title Sports Live. We are in Draw 7 here of the ladies' side of this competition. Team Zemmelink up against Team Johnston, and Team Johnston is up 5-1 here, just starting the 6th end of play. So, Matt, it seems that the Team Zemmelink, skipper there, she's had to come up with some shots here in the last 4 ends to basically save the ends.
Yeah, and I think it's really coming down to just a couple shots in the middle of the ends a couple times. Both teams are really letting some opportunities get away from them. So one of the worst things you can do is follow up a miss by the other team with another miss by your team, which we've seen a couple times this game. So really focusing down on when the other team misses, really taking an extra second in the hack or discussing something a little bit better, doing whatever you need to do to try and make that shot is going to be really key in the second half if they want to get back into the game. Because the skip, like you said, has been left with some tough shots.
Yeah.
And they've really had the opportunity to set up a couple ends for her. So if they can just make that slight change, start communicating a little bit more about what they exactly want out of each shot and what the tolerance is out of each shot, then I think they can definitely pull it back in the second half of the game.
Yeah, they definitely have their chances here. And Team Johnston, again, their lead putting that first rock back 8 foot. So
yeah, still just struggling just a little bit to get the weight down on those first couple rocks. And you see her coming up light again here.
So these are the chances you're talking about. You're given a chance here. You need to capitalize on them.
Exactly, and it doesn't appear to be a big chance, but these are really the ones that you need to take the opportunity on.
Right.
They haven't put their rocks in the best positions, back 8 and a center guard up 4. So these are the things where the situation doesn't appear to be as important as it actually is.
Yeah.
This is really where you need to hunker down, just make what seem like very straightforward shots, just drawing around corner guards, things that when you're talking about them appear to be very boring, but they're very important shots, and you need to try and capitalize on them.
Yeah, extremely important. This one's looking good if they can get it by the guard, and they do.
are by.
Needs to stop now. That's a great shot. So when the old rules, the 4-rock rule, Matt, they'd be up there peeling that corner guard at
I
this
would
point.
hope so without blinking. But yes, with the 5-rock rule, still have to wait one more rock. So this is the thing about the 5-rock rule. It forces rocks to be in play. It forces teams to get a bit more creative with how they want to play these positions. So Sophia Johnston going to try and play a little bit more aggressive with this shot and try and go around the center guard and set herself up well there before she goes over to deal with the Zemmelink team's rocks.
That's a great shot there too.
Yeah, that's a really good one. You know, those ones are so tough. The important thing about those shots is staying above the tee line.
Absolutely.
Being buried does you no good if you're behind the tee line and just allow them to freeze. So keep it above the tee line, even if it's half open or something like that. And that's where you're getting. You might not make the shot perfectly. It was there.
Yes.
But even if you don't make the shot perfectly, you want to be on the right side of the inch to give yourself at least something out of all the rocks.
I don't want to see this one jam. Oh dear.
Really unfortunate there. We've seen a lot of those peels over curling a little bit. So.
Yeah. Well, the good news for Zemmelink, if this rock is peeled, they do have 3 yellow rocks in the rings, opponent rocks, that could become very useful to them.
Absolutely. It's sometimes you have to get really creative to score a deuce. So, and the flash happens here. So the guard is still up for them to use, but if that guard was ripped off, definitely you could see them get a little bit creative, maybe freeze the back yellows and try and get a deuce generated that way.
Yeah.
Going across the other games here after 4 ends of play, Team Vivier with the steal in 4 to go up 4-1 over Team Bellevaux. Bellevaux having the hammer here in the 5th. Over on sheet 3, after 4 ends, we see Steele with a 2-point advantage, up 4-2, without the hammer against Team Crop. And going over to sheet 4, Team Deschênes gets the force on Team Charlotte Johnson in 5, actually. They're playing 6 now. So Deschênes up 4-1 with the hammer in the 6th end. And I'm sure Team Vivier and Team Johnson are both happy to see that happening over there. They need Charlotte Johnson or Rachel Steele to lose to come back and meet them in a tiebreaker.
So this competition is flying by fast, Matt. Like we said, this is the last round robin game for the ladies. And then we have one more round robin game at 4:15 this afternoon for the men's.
Should be a very exciting game for the men's, actually. There's still, I believe, 5 of the 8 teams are still alive for a playoff spot, just kind of like what we're seeing with the women here. So should be a great afternoon of curling, and definitely the pressure will be on, and we'll see who can show up and play well under that.
Yeah, just looking at the men's teams right now, Neat Page is standing alone at 5-1. Lung at 4-2, Goves, McNamara, and Rooney all at 3-3. Jones, Massey, and Ingalls all at 2-4.
Yeah, and looking at the standings after that last draw, double checked and it was determined that 4 losses in the men's field is out. Is out of contention. Okay. So down to 5 teams competing for that playoff spots on the men's side.
Well, Zemmelink would love this one to be hit on the nose here. Or stick around in the back of the ring somewhere. At this point, Zemmelink needs all the rocks she can get in place there to use.
Yeah, and not a bad result there. But Zemmelink will look to hopefully remove one of these stones and roll on top of the other one. Try to force some kind of a miss out of the Sophia Johnston rink here in the 5th end. This is hanging out there. Maybe use a catcher. Oh, does touch her own and the yellow, and appears to take him both of them out of the rings. It's really unfortunate.
This is Sophia Johnston. She's fast, plays at a fast pace. They've still got 15 minutes on their clock. Opposition has 12. Mind the opposition has been down the whole game and might be playing more draws.
That's true. You can definitely manage your clock a lot better when you're up, and there's definitely less thinking happening for sure. I've noticed some tendencies out of this Zemmelink squad. We already talked about the second. Their peels were over curling a couple times, and we've also noticed the Vice, as we saw there, just a little bit wide on some of those hits. So whether this is the first time I've seen this team, but if that's a consistent tendency, then that's a discussion that you have, either tighten up the broom or give a bit more ice on some of those shots, or even if it's just this game, a lot of the times on my teams, we've come together in an end between end break, and you just say to your skipper, I'm just not throwing it that well. I'm just wide on everything on my intern for whatever reason. I don't know why. Just give me a little bit less ice, or a little bit more ice, and those are the kinds of just little conversations that you need to have in the middle of a game, and that's all about adjusting and just to how you're throwing it that day.
Well, and it's true, you have to communicate with your skip if you aren't, because what could happen is you're trying to correct, the skip is also trying to correct.
Well, the amount of times you see that for sure, where there's the double correction where, you nose a hit, so when you want to roll, so your skip gives you a little bit more ice, and you throw a little bit more weight, and you're more positive, and now all of a sudden you're missing everything wide, right?
Yeah.
So communication is a huge thing to talk about, especially, and I think a lot of the times it's in the hands of the thrower. If you see the broom come down, absolutely ask the skip, is this a little bit more? And if it is, if you want the same and you just want to fix how you're throwing it, then just tell them, no, just keep giving me the same. But I think the onus really comes down to the thrower to communicate well with the skip about how they're thinking about tossing that rock.
Right. So Tori trying to play the freeze here, just bounces it off.
Stays in the rings, but unfortunately for
so there is a little discussion here on a touched rock.
So we didn't see, but maybe just slightly a burned stone coming into the rings, and they had a discussion about what they thought was going to happen. Of course, with the if it was the Zemmelink team that burned it, it is up to the Johnston team. They have 3 options in that case. They could leave it the way it is, which I believe is what they decided, or remove the rock completely, which they did not do, or put it back to what they think was going to happen. And they had a good discussion, and they both agreed that they really didn't feel like it changed the outcome that much, so they just left it the way it was.
That's the tough part of our sport, is that we have to kind of police these situations ourselves.
Absolutely,
it's kind of put on us and the opponent, the non-offending team, which makes it even tougher.
Absolutely, the rule is really tough. It puts the team that didn't have the infraction in the awkward position to try and decide what to do. But I've always been of the opportunity of the mind that you got to be honest, and I think you don't want to sort of bend the rules to your own just to make you put yourself in a better position if you can avoid it. I think you just got to be honest, and if you think that they were going to make their shot, then you put it back where you think it was, or if both of you agree that it wasn't going to change anything, then I think you just leave it the way it was.
Yeah. Well, nice shot by Sophia.
Very good shot, covering the pin.
So last shot coming up here, and again.
Yeah. How many times have we seen Tori have to make this shot?
I know.
Again, having to make that come around, little bit of a tap. Sophia Johnston seems to just always be finding a way to get a rock on the pin, and
she's owning that pin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Looks really close. Once again, just doesn't quite get the tap that she was looking for.
So one more yellow goes on the board here. In the 5th end, 6-1 is the score. And Zemmelink will continue to take that last rock.
You know, every end we've seen Tori have to do that shot, and she's come so close.
She has.
Just hasn't quite gotten the taps that she's needed to some of the times. And she makes any one of those, this could be a completely different line score we're looking at right now. But
Yeah.
as is, a 6-1 lead for the Sophia Johnston rink with 3 ends to play.
Well, Sadie has found her draw weight there. It's a perfect shot. Kayla Cruikshank gonna throw the corner. Guard. Well, the weight was good on that one. Just a little bit of an over curl.
Yeah, you'd love to see those corner guards just sort of covering more edge of the 8 kind of thing. Gives you room to draw the button back if you need to on that side of the sheet. But yeah, it's really tough to get rocks buried around something that's out that far, side 12.
Yeah. Well, they wanted this one in.
Yeah, but a great plan B.
It is a
either
great
way.
plan B.
I mean, you're going to throw the guard eventually anyways, right? So why not make it perfect right now?
Yeah. So Kayla being asked to just tick that tight guard over. Problem with it is that she'll probably tick her own in the rings.
And then it can be hit.
It can be hit, so.
Well, yeah, and this is another situation where, like, given the scoreboard the way it is, I think you can sort of be a little bit more patient here maybe and just toss up another corner guard. The guard that you have right now isn't really that good. Now, that being said, as long as this doesn't roll in, which doesn't look like it did, that's actually a great result.
Yeah, that rock just off the rings there might come in very handy for that team later on in the end.
Absolutely, that's exactly what you were hoping for. You want to force Sophia Johnston to leave your rocks around as much as you can, and well, that's what the 5-rock rule is for, so
yeah.
We'll see if they can capitalize on this opportunity now.
Pretty good guard there.
Yeah, covering most of the rock, maybe showing a third or a quarter on the one side, but definitely guarding the right side of it. If they were to play anything on that rock top 4, you know, you're not really going anywhere good with your shooter. So
Right.
Tori Zemmelink going to ignore everything and try to make a little bit of play over on the side of the sheet here and try and maybe hope to set up a deuce.
Well, her weight was pretty good on that, Matt. It just didn't get the curl.
Yeah, it was what was the call? To go around the wide?
I believe
card?
so, yeah.
Okay, I thought, it looked pretty good to maybe change plans and and maybe nose tap that rock into
Yeah.
the ring. So thought they were going to make that choice, but they stuck to their guns and really tried to hope it curled off that guard. That right side of the sheet is really getting junked up now.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually a pretty good result to not roll with that yellow rock, because now I don't know how Tori uses those corner guards the way they're set up right now.
Yeah, I don't think she can now. She's going to actually go over the other side of the sheet here now and play the double.
I love this call, because anything you were going to try and play on that center rock, even if you stayed there, Sophia Johnston would have had the opportunity to come off of this rock. So
this looks good.
That's very good, actually. Well, do you think there's a hole there?
Yeah, I think there is, Matt.
A little bit unlucky to roll
Yeah.
right into the hole there, but still a good attempt. This is not an easy shot either for the Johnston team, so. Excellent shot.
Very good shot.
Staying right there in the hole, so really tough on Tori Zemmelink now, and she's decided to try and open this up and give herself some kind of opportunity. She sees the danger growing very quickly here.
So Kira just going to throw the peel. This might actually, I think she's just going to tick it. Ooh, she gets
makes it by.
Well, that was plan B.
Yeah, pretty good one too.
Yeah.
That red rock is actually in a really good spot. If Sophia Johnston isn't careful, Zemmelink will be able to top that up onto the shot rock.
Okay, timeout for Team Johnston. I think that's a good move on their part.
I agree. It looked like there was just a little bit of indecision on how they want to play this. I think it's really important that you get all four players on board on the same plan, no matter what you end up deciding on doing. So you see, she talked about maybe trying to make a play on that red, and she also talked about guarding, but she was worried because being up on the scoreboard, obviously guard isn't your intuitive call. So let's listen to what the coach has to say here, and then.
Tolerance was fine.
Yeah, oh no, tolerance was all right. Nice weight. Really good weight.
Well, I've tried making 5 of those.
All right, so we'll see what the decision was here. All right, right? So they've decided to guard. I really like this call, Mary. How about you?
I do, yeah. I know she talked about the fact that they are up in, 5 points in this game, but it's getting closer to the end of the end, for one thing, so she doesn't have to worry about giving up too many.
Yeah, that was exactly my thinking. You throw the guard, you force Tori to make the tougher shot. And really her only shot will be to tap that rock top 4 and roll into the open.
Right.
And then in that case, if you're Sophia Johnston, you can just hit it anyways. And there isn't really a risk of giving up more than 2 at the worst. And of course, if you give up 2, up 3 with hammer in the 7, that's a pretty
nice.
Yeah, pretty nice situation to be in. So.
No. Unless that camera guy from CT.
Just don't want this in too deep.
I think that ends up actually being okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's that double tap there now or not.
Okay.
And even if there was, your shooter won't be in the ring. So at worst, at best, you'll only be sitting 1 anyway.
Same
So
weight.
looks like she's gonna give it a try here. Maybe looking at a double takeout as well. Doubling out those ones in the top 12.
Right.
You can do that or that.
Yeah, that does seem to be what she's going for here. Try and hit it right in between the 2 rocks and maybe get some yellows flying here.
Yeah. Yes. Hard.
Well, if she does not make it, she might make the little short run back.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, look at this. Makes the double and wiggles her way through to sit frozen on the red. You couldn't ask for a better outcome out of that.
Now they really need a guard.
Yeah.
So those are pretty lined up. So really, Matt, this guard can be anywhere over that hog line as long as it's in the way of those red rocks, because even like if she happened to come in really tight here, there would be a shot for
Absolutely.
Zemmelink to sit too.
The big thing here is getting the line right.
Yeah.
Really, you could be anywhere above that other yellow guard and you're okay as long as you're guarding those red rocks. So,
Right.
And if you are tight, if you're coming in a little bit heavy, then you need to bury a good piece around that yellow to not give some
Yes.
kind of a
Yeah.
run back for the Zemmelink team.
So line is very important on this shot.
If it overcurls, then we're gonna do the fun.
This one's starting to curl here. I think it's going to over curl, Matt. Oh dear.
That over curls.
Oh,
Big chance here for Team Zemmelink if they can capitalize.
Even if we did that, that 5 is always coming back on us.
Yep. Other?
With like, what do you think, 10 on that?
Yeah.
And we get a piece under, like roll under, that's pretty good.
Okay.
And they might be questioning that decision to guard a little bit after that timeout, but I still think it was the right call.
I do
I
too.
think, the Zemmelink Vice came up with a huge shot to wiggle in and set up this, and then still had the opportunity to make this guard. So
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to execution a little bit by both teams.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially on that last one of the one that Sophia just threw. That was execution. Her weight would have been fine. Didn't quite get out to the stick on it.
A little bit of miscommunication too. She was trying to call her sweepers on to hopefully hold the line a little bit, but
Yeah.
I think that would have just held it deeper, pulled it deeper,
Pulled it
and had
deeper,
it over
yeah.
curl.
So would love to save her shooter on this shot as well. She's going to roll out, but makes a nice shot.
Kira, hard!
Ah,
It just doesn't push
Doesn't.
that yellow far enough. Does sit shot, but only one.
That was a miss.
yeah, just needed to, her weight would have been fine if she just hit more of that first rock.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I liked her weight. If she hit a little bit more of the first one, then it would have definitely got rid of that yellow.
Sorry.
Yeah, so Sophia would like to hit this and stay in the house, sitting first and second shot. So last shot, 6th end for Sophia Johnston. Throwing a 10-second hit. Okay, well, she makes the hit, rolls out. So that will give Tori a shot here to take a couple of points.
And, you know, she seemed a little bit disappointed with that shot rolling out. She definitely had the opportunity to force, but, you know, coming into this end, that giving up a deuce was more than okay. You wanted to make sure you got rid of that rock, so
For sure.
I think that's definitely something to be happy about. I
celebrate,
think this
for
end
sure.
is definitely a check mark in the Johnston book for
Yeah.
sure.
Whoa. Clean. Yep. Yes. Yes.
All the way.
Whoa,
you got it.
clean. Clean.
Whoa, just clean.
Very good shot by Tori Zemmelink to get her deuce, her first deuce of the game. Score will be 6-3 after 6 ends. Looking over at some of the other sheets now on sheet 1, we have Beliveau coming up with a steal to tie the game at 4-4 against Vivier. Vivier having hammer in the 7th end. On sheet 3, same deal over there. Croft coming up with a steal to tie the game 4-4. Steele with the hammer going into 7. And on sheet 4, in the 8th end, we have Team Deshane with a 5-3 lead with the hammer
Really
in the
tight.
8th end against
Just a
Charlotte
one.
Johnston. So definitely a good situation over there for
Clean.
Team Deshane.
Where are we?
1.
No, 2's not good. 2's not good. If we're at 2, then bring it to 3. If we're at 2, then bring it to a 3.
2.
Well,
Well, Matt, that, 2 points.
Sit.
Now
No.
a 6-3 score here. Anything can happen in these next 2 ends.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's all going to come down to execution here. Both teams are going to have pretty clear game plans. Tori Zemmelink will try and get a couple center guards up and hopefully have Sophia Johnston throwing against 2 or 3 on her last one, and you never know what can happen. And Sophia Johnston obviously will hope to run up and just start peeling guards as soon as she possibly can to keep this end wide open.
Trying hard to get this one in the rings. And anybody who wants to go back and watch any of these games that have been played out here this week, they can go on the
just
Title
like
Sports
not
Live
in,
website,
Not in. Cannot be in.
TitleSportsLive.ca. Go on tournaments and click on the U18, and they can watch all these games pretty much right after they've been played.
Okay, if we're just, whoa, girls, if we're just a 1, then leave it. For just a one and leave. For just a one and get off. Make sure it's over though. It's over. Yeah. Stop. Sit.
Talking to the rock.
I try to tick. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Attempting the tick here, Sophia Johnston. There's definitely a shot that has become more prevalent in the upper echelons of the game, and you can see it's kind of worked its way down the levels as well. Even we're seeing it a little bit more often even at the U18 level this week, Mary.
Yes.
So wide.
Is this a shot your team used a lot, Matt?
Not as often as some other teams might have. We never really used it when we were up. Our lead was usually very good at his draw weight, and you know, on one hand, like if your lead is just continually drawing the top four all game, every end, why change it, right? If they have that good draw weight, it does the exact same thing as making that tick. But you know, it really comes down to leads, what the lead's comfortable with, right?
Yes.
There are definitely times we used it more so to generate two corner guards in the middle ends when the game was close than we did when we were up. But
Whoa, whoa.
Thought she was by that.
Hey, that was my bad.
Well, she doesn't get by the guard, but it's not a
I
bad
think
miss.
I like the hit and roll. Yeah. Throw 10.
Really good weight.
9 bar. Yes. Oh.
Yep. Nope. Sorry, I touched myself.
Yep. Oh.
No, sorry. My fault. My fault.
Toppy.
So hits and rolls out on there, so it gives Zemmelink still a chance to hide one behind those two centerline guards.
Where are we? Whoa.
All there. Whoa. All there.
Let it go on its own. Let it go on its own.
All there.
Toppy.
Gotta stay with this one. Line looks really good here.
Avery's rock if you want to go.
It's a little bit heavy.
actually ends up in an excellent spot there.
Perfect.
So if you're the Johnston team, you're definitely going to try and make the double peel here, try and really open up that center. It's actually a really good spot because it's kind of in between both guards. So either one they peel, you should be able to sort of half bury again and maybe get a miss out of the Johnston team later. This looks close.
Oh, beautiful shot.
Sort of raises it up to that other yellow one, but not really concerned about that if you're the Johnston team. You're just happy to see nothing on that center line right now.
Yeah, I had a feeling I was going into there anyway, but it's fine. I'd rather them all in the ring.
Line's fine. Yep. Whoa! Needs to curl.
So now the guard goes up, and it's not as important now, Matt, for it to be a perfect guard covering the one in the house.
No, you realize that wherever this guard ends up, Sophia Johnston is just going to walk up and be ready to peel it without even thinking. It doesn't really matter where it is. So you can kind of see how this end's going to play itself out. Zemmelink will continue to throw this guard, and Sophia Johnston will continue to peel until Zemmelink will have a decision to make soon whether she wants to continue guarding for the rest of the end, or you can always hit the rock in the rings and sit three. And you know, when you make the other skip throw against three, you never know when you could get a miss and walk away with a steal of two. Or I think that's what we'll see from the Zemmelink team, but it really comes down to what they decide. I believe Red's only sitting one right now, so if they really wanted to put the pressure on and sit a couple, they would have to hit those side stones.
So they're going to go for the one in the rings, Matt?
Yeah, I'm a
Either
little
or?
bit surprised to see this, to be honest. I mean, the guard isn't great, but really I don't think, if I was Zemmelink, I wouldn't really be considering this rock top 4 to be my steal point anyways, so.
You don't want to just tick this, at least get it out of the way.
And I think that's just a fine result either way. If you're the Zemmelink team, that rock that's top 4 right now, you're not really considering that to be your steal point.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably looking at hoping for a miss on the Johnston's last rock, and maybe you get a couple steal if you hit that side one. So it looks like one more guard here, and then it'll be decision time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for Sophia, all she really wants to do here is score. She doesn't want to necessarily give up a point. I think being up 4 coming home would be a comfortable lead.
So it looks like we have handshakes on sheet 3. 4 points for Team Steele in the 7th end, and Aubrey Croft decides that that'll be it for today. Shakes hands and coming off the sheet right now. So Rachel Steele moving to 5-2 after finishing the round robin, and Aubrey Croft dropping to 2-5. And Steele will solidify her place in at least the semifinal.
Yeah. And we still have the game with Charlotte Johnston going on up against DeShane. She's also right now at 2 losses. 8th end. I think Charlotte's down 2.
Yeah, and they just called a timeout. Looks like they're going to draw into the rings to sit 2, and then DeShane will just have an open hit to win the game. So we'll update you on that as that occurs.
And on our sheet, looks like the guard is a little heavy here, Matt. Goes into the rings.
Really unfortunate there. Line was perfect and just slips 4 or 5 feet too deep. So Sophia Johnston here with the chance to make the double and possibly sit 2.
Looks pretty good.
Very nice shot there.
Really nice, Soph.
Sorry, a little tight. Sorry, it was a little tight. We got it the other way. Good thing I have the sweepers I do. Or else I'd probably never.
No, I think we are.
So decision time here for Tori.
Me too.
Who's second shot over there,
It looks
Matt?
like yellow is
Yellow.
sitting 2 right now. So
Yeah.
there's a way to come off that red and maybe double out the yellows. That might be the best opportunity. The only thing I can really maybe think of is almost suicide draw around that yellow top 8 and hopefully get it back 4 and sit shot, but then that'll just leave a 3-4 foot run back for Sophia Johnston. So looks like they're going to try and make some kind of a hit here, hopefully sit 2 afterwards. Got to give a shout out to former teammate of mine and former provincial champ Jason Cam tuning in, who's chirping me on Twitter right now, saying these girls throw a better intern than me. So thank you, Jason. I really appreciate that. We'll have to have a talk about that at some time. His dad coaching the Vivier team here this week. So Jason really interested in how this week's turning out as the team his dad's coaching is fighting for a playoff spot. But here, Tori Zemmelink hoping to get something out of this shot. You at least got to sit shot rock, and she does that. But it looks like it'll just be a nose hit for at least 1, maybe 2 if you can get a little bit of a roll into the 8 foot.
Do you want to try to roll into 2 or just no? Okay.
Or second, just hit it. Take the 1.
So good choice here by Sophia. She's not worried about getting 2 points here. She hits this on the nose, she'll get 1 point. And
Yeah.
if she's lucky, plan B gets the roll, she'll get 2.
Yeah, exactly. The last thing you want to do is really try hard for the roll, and you might end up like flashing, or hitting it too thin and giving up a steal. So really, you just play this just like a normal nose hit. You know you're going to get your 1 as long as you make contact. Once you're halfway down the sheet and you know you're getting a good chunk of it, then you can start calling to try and get a good roll if you have the opportunity. But definitely an experienced call here by Sophia Johnston.
I don't know what's gonna happen there. Shoot. One red.
Oh, got
dear.
really unlucky.
That
Hit it
was-
high side and promoted the redstone up, bumped her own out to give up the steal.
Oh, that's tough.
Definitely not how you chalk that one up if you're the Johnston team, but still not a bad situation. Scores 6-4. Sophia Johnston up 2 with the hammer in the last end. I'm sure if you went up to her before the game and told her you'd be in that position, she'd be happy with it. So
yeah.
you gotta just let that one go and make 8 good shots this end.
Yeah, that's a little bit of training your mindset there, Matt, like you say. If you're up 2 with is a good situation. Even though you know you could have shook hands probably in that last shot. But
Probably. If you get your 1 there, for sure if you get your 2,
yeah,
it could be handshakes there. But, it's just 8 more shots. And
absolutely.
we do have handshakes over on sheet 4. Deshane coming out with the win and finishing off her perfect week, going 7-0. And with that, Charlotte Johnson does drop down to a 3rd loss, 4-3. So the way these games are looking right now, we could see a 3-way tie for 3rd, I think, right now.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, Vivier and Sophia Johnson here, both still sitting at 3 losses. Want to stay there. The tick shot tried there, but this is...
Really nice shot.
Excellent shot
Wow,
there.
she makes
You
it.
can't make that much better.
Great shot by Sadie.
Talking about the standings, I'm sure there's someone from the ice crew around or Curlon giving us dirty looks, saying the dreaded T word.
The T word, yeah.
Extra games, we'll say that.
Okay. Bonus curling.
Yeah,
something.
yeah, we'll go with that one. But there's still shots to be made here. We know the situation here. Looking over at sheet 1, Vivier gets the blank in the 7th end, so goes to the 8th, tied with the hammer. Score is 4-4 over there, and they're making good headway through their 8th end. Just finishing second shots here, so we'll keep you updated on that as the end progresses.
Back, blind, half, out.
Sadie trying the tick shot again.
Me?
It's got to move here. Just misses.
And as unfortunate as that is, that first tick shot was just so good that they're still in such a great position. It's going to be really tough. I think Tori Zemmelink is going to have to hope for another miss to really get something going here this end.
Yeah, Tori will look for, I believe, another closer guard to the house. That red one that's out there right now is too long.
Yeah, I think you're hoping to basically bury around that high guard,
Right.
but just not in the ring. So
Yeah.
just a nice tight guard buried around the high one.
Go, 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 hard! Hard, go, 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 hard! Peel? Yep.
Do you go for the double peel here, Matt, or do you just peel the center line one?
I think in this situation up to you can afford to go for the double peel. I think if this was a closer game, say it was tied in the 8th, I think definitely that rock on the center line is definitely much more of an issue in that kind of a scenario. But here you have a 2-point cushion with the hammer. I think you can afford to go for the double peel. But you have to make one, and
Yeah,
that's
very unfortunate.
it's very
miss.
unfortunate. Now Tori Zemmelink has what she needs to possibly sit 2 or 3 at the end of this end and hope for a miss.
Color and slight.
Yeah, I think if it was a tied game, you definitely just want to peel the center one.
Yeah.
The other
yeah.
one is A, it's very high,
Yeah,
so you could probably get around it if you need to, and B, it's off center.
right.
So really, at the end of the day, you're always going to have a shot to draw the button with your
Right.
last. So
Avery's now, Avery's.
They want to go on this one.
Hard, both of you. Get it here.
Oh, this is looking good if they can get this top 8, top 4. Oh, what a great shot.
it's an excellent shot there.
Really nice.
Beautiful shot.
You like same? Really nice, Caitlin. Or you could just kill that one. Okay, same. You got this one.
This is one where I'd probably peel the center, Mary.
Okay.
After that miss on the last one, then it's sort of a little bit more even odds right now.
Yeah.
I think, especially because it looks like that red one is behind the center one more so
Yes.
than it is the other one. So
We're just peeling one.
that's fine. It does open it up, but definitely the opportunity to go around the center again at some point.
Yeah. So what Zemmelink wants to be careful here when she's putting up another guard is you have to really try to prevent a double peel being made.
Absolutely. You know, I like the idea of trying to get another guard up there. We've talked most of this game, or most of today actually, how tough it can be to really get those single guards up.
Yeah.
And you know, if you go around, Johnston's going to peel it, and then you have to make 4 perfect guards on it. So
Right.
we've talked about how tough that is, so I like the idea of trying to get another guard up, hope they miss the double peel, and then you only have to make maybe 2 or 3 single guards rather than
Right.
4.
Yep.
Now this guard did come a little too close to the other one, so it's
tolerance up.
going to make it a little easier to make this double.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
Oh!
Oh.
No!
A little bit
That's-
unfortunate to not
yeah.
remove that second one, but I think it's still a good situation. It's still close enough to center. Right now, she's probably going to guard shot stone. When Johnston peels that, then you draw around the guard that's there right now a couple times, and hopefully sit 2 going into Sophia's last rock.
Yes! Hard, girls, hard! Hard, girls, hard! You gotta be over, hard!
Oh, God, they got to go on this.
Yes, hard, keep going!
Oh, dear.
It's a really bad break for the Zemmelink team.
Get the guard, that's okay.
Now Johnston can just continue to single peel, make reds go away, and that should be enough to win this game.
Yes! Hard! Hard, yes! Hard! Yes! Hard! Yes! Hard, go!
Oh, just gets by.
Okay.
And makes the perfect roll underneath just to make Tori's life even harder.
And on our sheet 1, Vivier and Belleville, right now there's only 2 rocks in play. Vivier has hammer. Belleville has 1 rock in the rings, top 8 foot. I think it's their skipper's last rock, Matt.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to maybe just try and guard it, and then Vivier would have to draw full 8 to win that game. They could be trying to tap it a little bit
Yeah.
too. I didn't see what the call was, but on our sheet we have a timeout right now, so the coaches are going to head out there.
Got such a good crowd here today, Matt.
Picking
Oh,
Had
yeah.
good crowds here all week.
Which is my fault, but like we have enough time.
I stopped in one of the other days, and yeah, it was tough to it was tough to watch the games because
Oh, yeah.
there were so many people here and so much support, and
Oh,
just being
yeah.
able to find a seat just to check out some of the games
Yeah.
was tough. So, so it looks like Bellevue is just going to try and guard their rock just full 8, and does that maybe just well enough. Vivier has a decision. Vivier has a decision to make here. Looks like she could maybe see a half rock and can choose to either play a little lightweight hit and try and stick around, or draw full 8.
Is she gonna run? Do you think she's gonna run?
Timeout on that sheet
they're
too.
going to call a timeout. So all curling has stopped in the club, and we get to sit here a little bit longer.
Yeah. Like frozen? Yeah. Yeah. Then what do I do? What part of the Thank you.
Oh my god, I almost just face planted, so that's good. Me too.
So timeout over here, Matt. What do you think the Zemmelink team should do here?
I think they're in a very tough situation right now. I think, all you can really hope for is you freeze that yellow one.
Mm-hmm.
Johnston will likely peel it, and then you just got to make a hit and sit 2 in the rings, and then you're really just hoping for a flash. So
Right.
I think with the way things are right now, you're hoping for a flash either way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you just got to focus on making your 2 shots as best as you can, and then just hope.
Pray to the gods,
Yeah.
the curling gods. So first rock here for Tori, 8 then. They could take this and try to get it half around that yellow.
I think that's what they tried to decide to do at the end there, but
Yeah.
maybe waited just a little bit too long. So you'll see a hit coming here from Sophia Johnston, and she can make that red go away. That should be handshakes. Looking over at sheet 1, Vivier is in the hack. Looks like they've decided to draw the full 8-foot. Rock on the way right now.
Sweepers are on it and off it over there. Usually that's a good sign. And Vivier makes the draw.
Excellent. Right on the button.
So that keeps her in playoff hopes, Matt.
Yeah, so Vivier comes out with a win, moves herself up to 4 and 3 into that tie for 3rd place. Sophia Johnston looking to do the same right here.
Nice shot by Sophie. And that will end this game, Matt. Well, Zemmelink tried to make a comeback here, Matt, but it was not to be. That puts Sophia Johnston, keeps her at 3 losses.
Yes, and I'm just looking at the results of the week here. Our overall standings now after this draw would be Deshane at 7-0. She'll get the bye to the final tomorrow afternoon. Followed by Steele. She will wait in the semifinal. And then we have a 3-way tie for 3rd place. And if I am correct, I'm just looking here, it looks as if Sophia Johnston beat both Charlotte Johnston and Team Vivier this week. So they would get the top seed in terms of that tie. So there would be 2 tiebreaker games likely. First one being between Team Charlotte Johnston and Team Vivier. Winner of that will play Sophia Johnston, Winner of that will play Rachel Steele, and winner of that will play Deshane in the final.
That's right.
I hope I got all that right. I was sitting here looking at the standings trying to figure all that out. Nobody message me if I'm wrong.
Well, thanks, Matt Hall, for sitting in with me this morning and this afternoon. I just want to wish you well in your future curling back here in Ontario. And that will conclude Draw 7 of this Women's Under-18 Championship. Johnston defeating Zemmelink. So you can tune in at 4:15 this afternoon where we